Love endures long and is patient and kind. Love never is envious, nor boils over with jealousy, is not boastful or vainglorious, does not display itself haughtily. It is not conceited, arrogant, and inflated with pride. It is not rude, unmannerly, and does not act unbecomingly. Love, God's love in us, does not insist on its own rights or its own way, for it is not self-seeking. It is not touchy or fretful or resentful. It takes no account of the evil done to it. It pays no attention to a suffered wrong. It does not rejoice at injustice and unrighteousness, but rejoices when right and truth prevail. Love bears up under anything and everything that comes. It's ever ready to believe the best of every person. Its hopes are faithless under all circumstances, and it endures everything without weakening. Love never fails, never fades out or becomes obsolete or comes to an end. You may or may not be familiar with the words that you have just heard. If you're not familiar, it's from the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13, from verse 4 to verse 8. It is a beautiful picture of love, true love, what it is and what it entails and what it means for us to love other people. And unlike most people think, it is not a verse or words for marriage and wedding or for your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband. It is love as we are to love other people, everyone. You've heard it said that love is not enough. But looking at this picture of love, it is so complete. And it shows you that love is enough. Love also is sacrifice. Like we see it in this text that I just read. And also thinking about one of the most famous, if not the most famous verse from the Bible. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Love involves giving. It involves sacrifice. There is no love without sacrifice. Some years ago, I talked about how love, every kind of love that you have towards someone else, whether your parent, your sibling, your child, your friend, your spouse, involves some form of sacrifice. You sacrifice something for your sibling. It may be food. It may be you're hungry, but your sibling is hungrier or hungry, and you're like, okay, you know what, you can have it. That is sacrifice. It may be parents sacrificing their own desires and interests for their kids. It may be a spouse choosing to operate their life so that their partner can achieve whatever successful dream that they've had all their lives. It may be showing up for your friend in a time that is inconvenient for you. You are sacrificing your time. So every form of love involves some form of sacrifice. And we don't tend to think about it in that way. But if you think about like loving other people from a point of you're doing something selflessly, you're giving up something that you want or that you use some other way for some other thing so that somebody else can get something that they need or want or desire, that is love. Isn't that such a beautiful picture of love? And I'm not now saying that you should go and be a martyr on the case of trying to prove that you love someone. No, it's really about just finding ways to love people and show up for them. And it's not a thing that you bring out like, I sacrificed this for you and I did that for you. Well, you chose to. Like, you can't be bringing it up all the time to be like, you must do what I said because I sacrificed this for you. Side-eyeing parents. But that's not the point. Like, you do something for someone because you love them and it is your desire to see them happy and to enjoy something. And you will be thinking that, Lady, this is just for your interpersonal relationships with your mother and your father and your partner and your spouse and your friend and the people that you know. But like I said, the verses from 1 Corinthians 13 aren't just talking about people that are closest to you. It's talking about how we are to love everyone. And if you apply the principle of Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, and then some smarty pants were like, who is my neighbor? And Jesus literally says, the story that Jesus tells about the Good Samaritan just illustrates that everybody is your neighbor. And if you think about what does it mean to love your neighbor, you're thinking about patience, kindness, not being envious, not being boastful, not being proud, not dishonoring someone else, not being self-seeking, not being easily angered, not keeping record of their wrongs, not delighting in evil. When evil things happen to someone, you shouldn't be happy no matter how terrible they are, because that is not love. Love rejoices with truth. Love rejoices when good things are done, when things are done righteously, when there's justice, when there's truth. Love bears up other things. Love always hope. Love is trusting. Love is persevering. And love never fails. And these are like Just if you imagine, if everyone, just imagine, take a moment, close your eyes, picture this, every single person in the world acting this way towards every other person in the world. Like, the world would be such a great place. The world would be so, like, there won't be like scams and violence and mistreating people and abuse, because you would treat people with value, with love. You would treat people as valuable because they are valuable, they are people, they are human beings. There will not be injustice. Does this sound like an utopia, or is it a utopia? Yes. And what does it mean to build a utopia? Just like the world doesn't suddenly become a dystopia in the way we see in movies where all of a sudden one thing happens and the whole world is destroyed. We gradually descend into chaos and dystopia-ness. But we have to consciously build a utopia. A utopia is not an endpoint where we get there and everything is perfect forever. It is, according to Jenny Fer Chang, who is an amazing cultural theorist. I have been reading all her stuff. She recently wrote, well, not recently, but I recently read what she wrote about. It's titled Escape from the Wasteland: The Broken Promises of Utopia and the Relentlessly Optimistic Nihilism of Mad Max Fury Road. And I think it is such a perfect read. And she said in it, and I quote, "Utopia is not a destination, it is a process, a shared dream, an impulse that we have the opportunity to create ourselves. And it is a collective effort." Even if everyone will not do the things and show the love and exhibit all these behaviors, you can, in your tiny way, wherever you are, do that. And maybe it creates a ripple effect. Maybe it doesn't. But then you're doing the thing that leads to the most ultimate good for everyone. And that is something that matters, no matter how small it seems. In the Escape from the Wasteland photo essay that I referred to, one of the things she says in there is that one of the characteristics of dystopian movies is that in them, love is bad and maybe even totally forbidden, because we start to see the other people as our enemy. We don't see that it is the structures and things. Basically, we're being lied to. We think that the people who are neighbors, the people who are in community with us, are going to turn on us and attack us, instead of thinking of how we can support each other through this terrible experience. We're all trying to like fight to be the only one to survive in the end. And I just remember that movie, I can't remember what his name is called, where I can't remember who, Sandra Bullock, I think, is the main character, and they're trying to get to this place because if they see the things, they might die or something. And there's just so much going on. But instead of trying to like fight everyone else, she was trying to help people, if I remember the storyline correctly, to get to the place where they could experience quote unquote salvation. I feel like if you look at all these movies, right, they basically come to the same point. Love is the answer. And it seems very naive and like weird and basic, but really it's very simple. Love is the answer. Love is enough. Something else that I saw in the Escape from the Wasteland essay is quote unquote, everything everywhere all at once says suffering is temporary and fixable, while joy and love is always possible, no matter how absurd it seems, end quotes. And honestly, that is it. Joy and love is always possible, no matter how difficult or weird or challenging the situation may be. Let's go back to where we started. Love endures long, is patient and kind. Love bears up under anything and everything, because love is hopeful. Acting in love is an expression of the hope that we have that the world can be a better place, that this person can be different, that this thing can change, that something good can come out in the end. Love never fails. Love never fades out. Love never becomes obsolete. Love never comes to an end. I'm going to wrap this up with a quote that has stuck with me since the very first time that I read it, God knows how many years ago. And it's from a modern love essay titled "When Cupid is a Prying Journalist." And it's quotes, "Because real love, once blossomed, never disappears. It may get lost with a piece of paper or transform into art, books, or children, or trigger another couple's union while failing to cement your own. But it's always there, lying in wait for a ray of sun, pushing through thawing soil, insisting upon its rightful existence in our hearts and on the earth. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.